The Miami sun glinted off the polished marble floors of the Azure Coast Resort's luxurious lobby. Leo Maxwell, a young black man in a cleaning uniform, moved with practiced efficiency, his thoughts far from the task at hand. His cell phone, usually silent during work, a strict rule enforced by Mr. Finch, the resort's stern white manager, began to vibrate. It was the University of Berlin. After countless scholarship rejections for his master's in linguistics, this call felt pivotal. He slipped discreetly behind an ornate, coral-sculpted pillar, hoping for privacy. This moment, he whispered to himself, could change everything. "Leo Maxwell," he answered softly, his voice barely audible. The voice on the other end spoke in flawless German. It was Professor Anya Petrova, discussing his international program application. Leo responded immediately, his impeccable pronunciation flowing naturally. "Meine Begründung war zu spät und hätte vor 2 Wochen gesendet werden sollen." Leo explained, concerned his motivational letter was delayed. A sudden, unnerving silence descended around him. He looked up. Standing a few feet away, watching him with an undisguised look of astonishment, was Miss Evelyn Sterling, the billionaire owner of the Sterling resort chain. Beside her, Mr. Finch bristled, eyes wide with fury. Leo swallowed hard. "Ich muss gehen. Ich ruf Sie später an, Tara," he said hurriedly, ending the call. "Maxwell, my office now." Mr. Finch's voice cut through the air. The walk to the basement administrative office felt endless. Leo felt his colleagues' stares, some pitying, others barely concealing their satisfaction. At 29, he was the only black man in cleaning with a college degree, a fact Mr. Finch constantly belittled. "You know the rules, Maxwell. No phones during working hours, especially in common areas." Finch fired off as he closed the door. And talking in, what was that, French? German. Leo corrected instinctively, immediately regretting it. "I don't care if it was Martian. What I care about is that Miss Sterling, the owner of this resort, saw a cleaning man ignoring his duties to talk on the phone in the lobby. The injustice burned." White receptionists took personal calls regularly with no consequences, but Leo knew the pattern. "I'm assigning you to the convention center bathrooms for the next 3 months. Maybe there you can practice as many languages as you want without embarrassing the resort." Leo's stomach sank. Double cleaning shifts with no overtime, Finch's classic punishment. You can go and be thankful you're not being fired. That night in his small apartment was one of the longest. Leo cried silently, staring at his linguistics degree framed on the peeling wall. 6 years of cleaning resort rooms, saving for a master's, sending resumes into a black hole. He thought of his father, a brilliant architect, whose talent had been overlooked due to similar biases, forced into menial jobs. His father's words echoed, "Son, no matter how much they try to make you feel invisible, your worth is not dependent on their recognition." The next morning, Leo arrived early, determined to show professionalism. The phone at the front desk rang. Leo Maxwell called. "John, the head receptionist, Human Resources wants you right away." The HR department was on the top floor, next to executive offices, uncharted territory for cleaning staff. In the elevator, he felt invisible, surrounded by executives who never noticed him. Leo was called into the HR director's office. "Please have a seat." He sat stiffly, bracing for termination. "Ms. Sterling has requested a meeting with you now." The owner's office, larger than his apartment, offered a panoramic view of the Miami coastline. Miss Evelyn Sterling, 45, famous for turning failing properties into luxury empires, looked directly at him. "German, French, Italian, and Mandarin, correct?" she asked bluntly, consulting an open folder. Leo blinked. "How did you?" "Your resume," Miss Sterling interrupted, her gaze piercing. "I asked HR for it as soon as I heard you yesterday. Honors degree in linguistics from Georgetown, fluent in 6 languages, 2 of them Asian, and cleaning my resort for 6 years." She paused. "What you don't know, Mr. Maxwell, is that this moment is no coincidence." Leo held his breath, a knot forming. "What no one in this resort suspects," Miss Sterling continued, her voice dropping, "is that behind that phone call in German was a much bigger story, a story I've been trying to uncover for months." 3 months ago, I initiated an internal investigation into alarming turnover rates among qualified white employees in my East Coast properties. Your incident, Mr. Maxwell, just confirmed my worst suspicions. She leaned forward. 6 years, Miss Sterling repeated. May I ask why a Georgetown, educated linguist is cleaning my bathrooms instead of working on international translations? Leo took a deep breath. I sent 47 resumes to the International Relations Department, all ignored. I tried for an internal transfer 12 times, always denied. By whom? Mr. Finch and Miss Albright, Director of Operations. Miss Sterling wrote the names. Curious. Miss Albright constantly complains about the lack of multilingual staff for our international clients, especially for our Asian conferences. Leo's testimony solidified her suspicions. Mr. Maxwell, I'll be blunt. Tomorrow, a major trade conference with Dutch and Chinese business executives begins. I need someone who speaks both languages fluently and understands cultural nuances. And you want me to clean their rooms? Leo asked, sarcasm in his voice. Miss Sterling smiled. I want you to be our international relations coordinator for the event, temporarily. Salary, $5,000 a week, starting today. Leo almost dropped his satchel. It was more than he earned in 3 months. Why me? There are hundreds of qualified candidates. Because I heard you speaking German like a native. Because you have the qualifications I need. And because I suspect there's something very wrong going on in my company. An hour later, Leo stepped into the elevator with a new badge and full resort access. Adjusting his new blazer, he subtly retrieved a tiny recording device. His father's wisdom echoed. Always have proof, son. They'll try to twist your words. He activated it. On his way to HR, he ran into Mr. Finch. The shock on the man's face was priceless. Maxwell, what are you doing on this floor without a uniform? Working, Mr. Finch. International Relations Coordinator at the direct request of Miss Sterling. Finch paled. Impossible. You don't have the qualifications to. Georgetown, fluent in 6 languages including Mandarin and German, Leo interrupted professionally. My resume has been in the resort's files for 6 years, along with my 12 transfer requests. As Finch stammered, Leo continued, the device silently recording. In HR, he found an unexpected ally, Alex Stone, a new recruitment analyst. Leo, finally. I saw your file 3 months ago and couldn't understand why someone with your qualifications was in housekeeping. I tried to talk to Miss Albright, but she cut me off, said it was an administrative oversight. Alex shook his head, a shared understanding passing between them. That afternoon, preparing for the conference in the VIP room, Leo noticed disturbing errors. The event documents contained incorrect and culturally inappropriate Mandarin translations, risking diplomatic misunderstandings. He quickly corrected them, redesigning welcome materials. How did you know they were wrong? Asked Miss Sterling, observing. The previous translation used terms offensive in formal corporate Chinese, Leo explained, pointing to phrases. Whoever did this knows basics, but not cultural nuances. Miss Sterling nodded. Miss Albright assured me she hired the best. It cost a fortune. She hired someone without checking credentials, or worse, knowing they were unqualified. Leo corrected, pointing out a critical error. The recording device continued its silent work. The next day, the conference began. Leo moved with elegance, effortlessly switching between German and Mandarin, mediating conversations that normally took days. During a break, Miss Albright approached him, her smile not reaching her eyes. Mr. Maxwell, I'm impressed. Mr. Finch clearly misjudged your potential. Thank you, Miss Albright. It's impressive how my Mandarin fluency was overlooked. Especially when the resort spent $50,000 on inadequate translation services for this conference. Leo's tone was even, his eyes challenging. Miss Albright's smile froze. There must be some misunderstanding. I never received. I received confirmation of receipt of every email over the last 6 years. Leo interrupted calmly, including those alerting you to critical errors in Asian event translations. The device hummed. He knew Ms. Albright had given her nephew, Ethan Albright, access to contracts. Ethan's company, lacking formal Mandarin experience, charged expert rates. Previous translations contained similar, costly errors. On the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. A Dutch businesswoman recognized Leo. "Wait, aren't you the student who wrote that brilliant article on linguistic variation in international business published in the Journal of Applied Linguistics?" Leo confirmed, surprised. "I've cited your work at 2 conferences," Miss Isabella Vandermeer exclaimed, calling colleagues over. Miss Sterling watched Miss Albright's growing discomfort. The director didn't realize that while she smiled, Leo was weaving a web revealing not just mistakes, but a system of discrimination and corruption, suppressing talent while inflated contracts went to unqualified people. No one at the Azure Coast Resort realized the black cleaning man answering a German call was part of a larger plan. This department transfer wasn't simple. It was unfolding into a plan that would expose systemic discrimination. The question wasn't if he could prove it, but how devastating the truth would be. On the 4th day, the Azure Coast Resort buzzed with energy. Leo's efforts generated preliminary contracts exceeding expectations. Walking through the lobby, he noticed Ms. Albright leading a nervous young man to the executive elevators. "Mr. Albright, your Mandarin translation is adequate," she said, controlled. "No need for concern." Leo recognized the last name. The young man carried a folder marked Final Translation Master Contract. A quick glance confirmed Leo's suspicions. The same critical errors persisted. "Miss Sterling needs to see this," Leo thought, rushing to the CEO's office. Miss Sterling was reviewing documents. "Leo, what's going on?" "Miss Albright is replacing my correct translations with flawed versions done by her nephew." Leo explained, showing phone screenshots. "And I have proof this has gone on for years. His Peking University certification is fake. I confirmed it this morning." Miss Sterling stood abruptly. "Are you absolutely sure?" "I have everything documented. Plus, records of inflated payments to his company 3 times above market rate while qualified candidates like me were systematically rejected." He pulled out the recording device. "And I have recordings of Miss Albright's attempts to cover it up, even her threats." Alex Stone rushed in from HR. "Miss Sterling, sorry to interrupt, but I found something you need to see right away," he said, handing her a folder. "Hiring records for the last 5 years show a consistent pattern of rejecting qualified non-white candidates, especially men." Miss Sterling flipped through, her face hardening. The outside investigation detected something, but this is systematic. Miss Albright entered without knocking. "Evelyn, the Dutch are ready to sign, but they're asking about inconsistencies. Maxwell must have mixed something up." The silence was icy. Miss Sterling walked slowly to the door and closed it. "Felicia," Miss Sterling said, dangerously calm, "I'm seeing payment records for $50,000 for incompetent translations while we have qualified employees cleaning bathrooms. And I have a recording of you trying to bully Mr. Maxwell." Mrs. Albright paled. "I don't know what you're talking about. We hire the best." "Your nephew, Felicia, has 0 experience in formal Mandarin," Miss Sterling interrupted. "He has a certification, fake," Leo finished, placing a printed email from Peking University's registrar on the table. "They never certified Ethan Albright." Miss Albright shot Leo a look of pure hatred. "You're nobody, a cleaning man who thinks he can play with the big boys." "PhD in applied linguistics from Georgetown," Leo corrected calmly, unwavering. "With 6 international publications, all in the HR files. You've lost." Repeatedly, Miss Sterling interjected. "I've called an emergency board meeting in 30 minutes. By then, I want your resignation letter on my desk." "You can't be serious." Miss Albright laughed nervously. "Because of this, choose your next words with extreme care," Ms. Sterling warned. 2 hours later, the executive auditorium was packed. Managers, supervisors, directors, Dutch, and Chinese executives were present. Mr. Finch looked confused. Ms. Sterling took the stage, Leo at her side. "Today we discovered a systematic scheme of discrimination and nepotism that has cost this company millions," she announced gravely. "For years, managers such as Felicia Albright and Albert Finch have implemented unofficial policies that have harmed not only our employees but also our bottom line." A presentation showed charts of qualifications versus positions, hiring, rejection by race, gender, and overpriced contracts to managers' families. Mr. Maxwell, whom some of you knew only as a cleaning man, saved our company from diplomatic and financial disaster this week." Ms. Sterling continued, "By correcting translations that would have cost millions." Asian businessmen nodded, some applauding quietly. "As a result of this investigation, Felicia Albright has been terminated for cause," Ms. Sterling announced. "Albert Finch is suspended, and effective immediately, we are implementing a complete audit of all hiring and promotions over the past 5 years." The room fell silent. Mr. Finch, pale, stared at the floor. Ms. Four. Sterling smiled slightly. "I am pleased to announce that Dr. Leo Maxwell is being named our new Global Director of Internal Communications, overseeing all multilingual operations." The auditorium erupted in applause, hesitant from some, enthusiastic from many, especially the cleaning crew in the back. As he left the stage, Leo saw Ms. Albright escorted out, her face contorted in rage. "You won't last a month," she muttered. Leo just smiled. The recording device, its purpose served, was now tucked safely away. That night, in his new Miami office, Leo finally cried. Not from sadness, but catharsis. 6 years of denied potential. He called his father. "I did it, Dad," he said, his voice breaking. No one at the Azure Coast Resort predicted the transformation had just begun. The fall of Albright's scheme was the first chapter in an overhaul shaking the hospitality industry. It all started with a German phone call. 6 months later, Leo's 32nd-floor office overlooked Manhattan. A plaque read, "Dr. Leo Maxwell, Vice President of Diversity and International Relations." His salary was 5 figures monthly, but his true power lay beyond that. "The restructuring committee is assembled, Dr. Maxwell," announced Alex Stone, his executive assistant and friend. "All regional managers are on the conference call." Leo nodded, entering the room where Miss Sterling and the board waited. It was the final presentation of his Invisible Talents program. The pilot program exceeded expectations. Leo began, presenting numbers. "In 6 months, we identified 147 employees with skills in languages, finance, management, and technology in roles below their capabilities. 83% are Black, Latino, or from other minority groups." Miss Sterling nodded. The program was her first demand, not just fixing his situation, but changing the system. "Most impressive," Leo continued, "is the financial impact. Outsourced translation costs are down 78%, international customer satisfaction up 42%, and our diversity ratings are top of the industry, all while providing opportunities to existing employees." Mr. Finch watched the broadcast from a California motel laundry, a daily humiliation. "The next expansion includes an internal mentoring system," Leo explained. "Each promoted talent commits to identifying and supporting others." Felicia Albright wasn't present. Dismissal tarnished her name. Rumor had her working as a roadside motel night manager in Arizona. Her nephew, Ethan, returned inflated payments and was studying Mandarin with a scholarship from the Sterling Foundation for Inclusive Language Education. "I want to share something personal," Leo said, turning to the camera. He paused. "When I was little, my father worked as a janitor. He had a college degree but never a job in his field. He always told me, Leo, no matter how much they try to make you feel invisible, your worth is not dependent on their recognition." Leo took a deep breath. "My father passed away believing some doors would never open for people like us. He never lived to see this moment, to see his sacrifice was worth it." Executives, many newly promoted, wiped away discreet tears. The true power of a company isn't how much it makes, but the potential it unleashes. For decades, hospitality, like many industries, buried extraordinary talent under service uniforms, assuming that people of certain colors, accents, or backgrounds were only fit for invisible roles. Miss Sterling stood, applauding, followed by the entire room and hundreds of employees watching remotely. Later, Leo received an envelope, a postcard from Berlin, and a letter from Professor Anya Petrova, offering a visiting professorship. She had followed his meteoric rise. Ironically, Leo thought, "I have Finch to thank for punishing me. If he just warned me, I might still be cleaning, my degree gathering dust." The next day, Leo launched a scholarship fund for resort employees and their children, financed by his new salary. The first beneficiary was his former cleaning colleague's son, who dreamed of hotel management. What began with a German phone call sent ripples beyond the resort, beyond the industry. Talent exists everywhere. Opportunity and recognition are lacking. True justice rebuilds systems, so prejudice has nowhere to hide. Leo's sweetest revenge was not seeing antagonists fall, but watching hundreds like him finally rise.